Arthur TV. This is the LGBTQ channel that discusses LGBTQ issues with a humanistic approach. And humanism, as I've always been talking about it, even in the previous video, to be a humanist just means to be concerned about humanity and in a positive way. It views humanity in a positive way rather than viewing humanity in a negative way. Of course, you can view humans negatively because humans are negative. We have two charges. And not only two charges, three charges. We have the positive charge, the negative charge, and the neuter charge. And I'm going to even write a book about that very soon. It came about when I attended a mental health meeting, very interesting meeting, and I got to learn a lot about religious people and their sexual identity. And as I told you, I used to be atheist, and then I started as religious like most people, then atheist, then religious, then just just there, just doing what I know best. And the reason why I think I'm noticing something in my own life, I also study my life rather than studying people's lives, because there's some people who are very microscopic on your life, but they are never microscopic on their life. Myself, I'm both microscopic on my life and other people. So when I look at my life, I notice when I was atheist, I was a very bit activist, very, very active in the LGBTQ movement. And it was out of anger because of what I saw in the religious circles. They were so homophobic. But when I went back to religion or spiritual or Christian or whatever you want to call it, because they are more or less the same, I noticed something. I noticed a lot of I was torn apart and trying to reconcile. You have to reconcile both parts together. You have to reconcile the religious part with the natural part, with the sexual part. And because the sexual part is natural, and LGBTQ is a natural disposition, it is not imposed. You can never make somebody LGBTQ. They are born that way. Thank you, Lady Gaga, for singing that. LGBTQ persons are born. Full stop. And so the more science is going deeper, it's getting even more clearer as the days go by. And that's what this video is about. This video is about sexual diversity, sexual singularity, and sexual identity crisis. Now, why am I doing such videos? I do such videos because I'm not a person who is just, this is happening, I'm gay, hooray, and life is going on, then full stop. And I am a person who likes living in the time and looking at what time is it for every movement. And in this channel, we focus on the LGBTQ movement because that's the movement I'm in naturally and actively in it, to stand as a online activist for the LGBTQ community, because the best person to fight for LGBTQ rights is the LGBTQ person himself. He's the best. I mean, a hungry person is the only person who knows he's hungry. If you're in a room of 100 full, satisfied people and one person who is hungry, that one person will cry and say, "Excuse me, I'm hungry." The rest won't cry. They're not hungry. So if you're hungry, cry. If you feel things are not working about for you, speak out. That's why I like social media and I use it very well to air out my views, my issues, and I applaud the internet, all of this technology. It's so great that, like, when we went to the mental health meeting, it was so interesting. People even think that anybody who posts is mentally unwell, and I was like, are you serious? It's not. They're not serious. That's not true. There are some people who post and are mentally unwell, and they should be allowed to post. That's how you get to know their situation. You see, that's why there's suicide watch on Facebook. Facebook has, because there are some posts when you read, you notice the person is deviating and he's really in depression, and so you can go and talk to that person if you're somebody who is sober, because many people are actually going through a lot of mental anguish. It's because of the life we are living. It's a bit fast paced, a lot of things are happening, and if you're not a person who is able to integrate into the fastness of life, you can be you can even you can get depressed. There's actually psychiatry and psychology are going through changes, because very many changes, they can't even keep up because of the technology has really changed humanity and life as it is, as we know it. So now we have our smartphone, and I'm going to do a video about that. Your smartphone is now your friend. You actually is one of your closest friends, even closer to you than the smartphone you have. Yes, because you spend a lot of time with it. It tells you what time it is. It tells you what to do. You chat with other people. It's like a friend, an invisible friend who helps you do. It's actually like it's taking the place of your friends, and you use it to get to your other friends. So that's the smartphone, and that was not life in 1955. 1955, people used to, if you want to meet your friend, you go and meet them outside. 80% of the world had no mobile phone or phone. So what they would do, they would go and meet. So socialization in the 50s or before the smartphone is not socialization in the time of the smartphone. And because of that, life has changed. That's why even academics has changed because of what has happened. So you have to be, and for you to be adaptive, to adapt the change, you have to be very flexible, which is not very easy for some human beings. That's why some humans will never adapt to this new technology. They will die without using it. Do you know not all people are on Facebook? Majority of the world is not on Facebook. Majority of the world is not on WhatsApp. Yes. And some people will die never opening a Facebook account. That's the reality. We are so many in this world that you can actually make money just from 2 billion and not even bother. 3 in the world, and he only has 2 billion. That's almost a third of the world. A quarter. Almost a quarter of the world Zuckerberg has. Yes, a quarter only, and he's sleeping. Money is just coming in. It's raining dollars. It's not raining men now. It's raining dollars for Zuckerberg. Just only with 2 billion, we are in. So the smartphone has really changed everything, and it's good for you to post whatever you want. I was of the view, if you are, even whether you're mentally deranged, or, and there are also levels of mental instability. There are some people who are thoroughly mentally unstable, they can't even communicate. Those ones are real hospital cases, but the others are in the middle. They are mild. You know, when you read psychology and psychiatry, you just say, wow, they knew these things had existed, levels of every disorder. Anyway, we were not talking about mental health. We were just talking about sexual diversity, sexual singularity. So I was saying why I like posting is because I like looking at the time. Now, the LGBTQ movement in the 70s is not the LGBTQ movement in the 21st century. In the and then the LGBTQ movement in America is not the LGBTQ movement in Africa. So everyone is on a different time zone, time plane, a different experience. So you see, like in the West, they have already reached, they have made very many milestones when it comes to LGBTQ rights. But in places like Africa and Asia, it's a bit slow because of where it is, where the movement is geographically. It's in a continent that has very many problems. And this is why I don't attack President Uhuru of Kenya when he said what he said. He understands that Africa is still, there's a part of Africa that is still dealing with other issues. So they are not really thinking about LGBTQ issues, much as there are LGBTQ persons in Africa. And that's why I prefer Mandela's way of doing it. Mandela just said, you know what? LGBTQ people are part of Africa. They are part of South Africa. And the constitution. So you see, that was, there are various ways. We even forgot to do a video about what Paul Kagame did. Very good thing. He was with Ellen and stood with talk show host. And I commend him with all of my heart because that was a very bold stand. It's not that he was saying he is LGBTQ. He just showed he's an ally. That's an ally, whether you like it or not, because you cannot take photo. I mean, can you imagine Putin taking a photo with Ellen? My God, the world would collapse. Or Putin standing with uh, Elton John, you know. You know, we really go and probe Putin and ask him, I think you've changed. Yes, yes, maybe. Because Kagame did that for a good way, just to show Rwanda and Africa that no, allow LGBTQ people who have the means and want to do good in Africa to do good. You don't have to chase them. That's what Kagame did. That was very powerful. Oh my goodness, I am guilty of diverting. So we'll do that video. I think we'll have time for Kagame and tell him thank you. Yeah, we always like doing thank yous. We say thank you to the Pope, say thank you to Kagame, say thank you to any president who does something for LGBTQ persons. Yes, we say thank you. It's good to be grateful because some things take a lot of boldness. You know, like Kagame's stance, it's not easy in some countries in Africa because they'll just, even they can even impeach. Yes, so it needs a lot of wisdom, a lot of wisdom. You need to know what the makeup of your people, and when you find them very religious. But what I don't advocate for is deceit. Yes, is deceit whereby you say these people they are, you call LGBTQ persons names. No, that one is wrong. That one, it should never come from a politician that you call them names or you make fun of what they do. No, 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 no. Because you are not LGBTQ. That's why you shouldn't speak ill. You shouldn't do ad hominem to them. Imagine, it's like making fun of a blind person or a deaf person. Yes, it's not, it's unethical, and it is unstatesmanship. You should find a way of saying it as a statesman. So I know there are some politicians in Africa that have that weakness. They just say what they want and how they say it just to get political mileage. But it's not wise, especially LGBTQ issues, because LGBTQ issues are very, they're serious, they are real, and it's not a joke. You know, you can make fun of your politician, fellow politician, you can joke around with him and say, you know, you're a chicken, you're a what, and those are those are the usual insults that are thrown in Africa. But when it comes to a person's biological makeup, you shouldn't be in deceit and tell people that no, you guys, what are you even doing? And yet, it is actually real. They are happening. Yes. So anyway, let's go to sexual diversity. And sexual diversity, why am I doing this? As I was saying, 1970 LGBTQ movement is not the same as 2018, the 21st century LGBTQ movement, because of the many changes that happen in life. We measure life decade wise, and with technological changes, it is actually now maybe even 5 years. And when I look at the world right now, I think we are now on the we are resting on the resting plane, because the 2000s was the birth of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. All of these things were born in the 21st century. So we are actually products of these social media platforms, and life is being built on these social media platforms. The It never used to be on the internet because there was no internet. So different. Now we have the internet, unlike in the 70s when it was just, clubs, bars. I was reading something that happened in London. Many bars were closing down. Do you know why? Many gay bars. It's because people were using social media apps to socialize. And in the long run, very many clubs are going to close. Not because of that people are not socializing, it's that now people have new places to socialize. And it's because of the internet. Now, in the 70s, the LGBTQ movement, there were no LGBTQ affirming churches. There were no ministries. There were no religious movements that affirm LGBTQ people. So now they are there. Why? Because there's a common understanding that there are LGBTQ persons who are religious, who live in church, who have been in the church, who have been in the mosque, who have been in the temple, who are Buddhists, but they don't feel safe being in places that speak homophobia, even though in those places where there is homophobia, they are also gay people. See, see the Catholic Church, Anglican, all of these churches, and the Pentecostal, Evangelical, it's not that they don't have gay people in them. It's like saying there are no gays in Iran. There are gays in Iran, even if being gay, the death penalty is death. I mean, the penalty is death. It doesn't mean there are no gays in Iran. They are there. So it's the same as churches. Just because a church speaks against homosexuality does not mean there are no homosexuals or LGBTQ persons there. But the new angle is, why not create spaces for these LGBTQ persons who have faith but want to have their faith and are a bit sensitive to homophobia and are not able to live their lives in the violent, the mentally violent homophobia that can come from the pulpit. So what happened is, in the 21st century, there's been a surge of the affirming movement. This is the queer theology, whereby now there are churches and there are mosques that host LGBTQ persons of faith. And as I've said, it's the reason why this has happened is because of the internet. It's because people are now engaging. The internet is not wasn't there in the 70s, but it's not the internet's purpose. It's just that the internet has hastened all of this. It has made us develop this far. Now, so what is the time? So what I'm trying to bring about is look at the changes that have taken place in the 70s and 80s. Most people were in the closet, and as time goes on, more and more people are coming out. More and more progressively, they are coming out, they are coming out, they are coming out, they are coming out, they're coming out. By 2050, we may know, like especially in the West, because the West is already in that plane of gay marriage. So they are more the chances of coming out in the West is high than in the global South, because they have laws that protect you. You know, when you come out in the West, it's so easy. Number one, you can't go to jail. You can't be arrested. You can't be discriminated against because the laws that protect you. They come out and say, hey, good. You are you're gay, well done. You can even marry if you want to marry, you know. You don't have to marry even if you're gay. Yes, you can be single. I'm a supporter of singlehood, whether you're gay or straight. It's okay. That's what you want to do with your life. I support individual decision, because your life is your life. You die alone and you were born alone. So whatever you want to do, you can do. Freedom to marry, as long as you're given the freedom to marry. You see, the reason why gay marriage was allowed and should be allowed all over the world is because there are some gays who want to marry. They are there. But because the laws did not allow it, they they had to fight for the gay marriage laws. Now, as I've told you, in Africa and the other parts of the global south, it's a bit different, and we don't just vouch for gay marriage. We start with decriminalization, because that is the decriminalization is the process to first of all tell people that gay sex is natural. It is. People get HIV/AIDS, they get gonorrhea, they get STDs, very many STDs just from gay sex alone. So the best way to manage these diseases, because in the end these diseases affect the economy of a country. So if you don't focus on health, and one of the signs of focusing on healthcare is decriminal, like homosexuality, even polygamy and sex work. Because sex work, if you criminalize sex work, you also endanger the health of people, because it will go underground. And when it goes underground, your efforts as a country or as an economy to fight diseases is null and void, because dark data is hovering. All of these countries that are homophobic or anti-sex work, they don't even know how many people are sex workers. They don't even know how many people are gay. And they will never. It's very hard, because you're in a society that does not encourage that lifestyle, even though it exists. You see, it exists. Just because you have laws against it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Muslims and Judaics, but Judaics are better. They are kind of understand. They understand the Bible is a cultural book. it's not, they don't take it like it is the truth, because the Christian and Muslims, they take their scriptures like it is the truth, this is what happens, so they become very fundamentalist in their hatred. You see, even the Bible is, it's so clear that the laws they wrote, they were never followed, especially laws to do with the body, especially laws like sex. Adultery was happening. You read the book of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah is just crying. I like him because he's always crying about adultery, that people are neighing like horses. You'd go to one house and you just hear noise. Their next house, yes, and yet there was a law against adultery. So it is just, you know, I mean, just because you have a law against something doesn't mean it's going to work. And Paul even said it very well. The law is weak. It can't change people. The only thing that changes makes somebody to, even even if you're just a human being. Paul was just talking. I know I don't want to go into philosophy now. I was just on the sexual diversity and how the sexual different people, I mean LGBTQ people exist even in countries that are homophobic. They are there. Now, so we finish on sexual diversity. Sexual diversity means that there is no more duality, that you're a man or a woman. See, the duality has ruled the world for long. That when you're born, you are born either with a penis or a vagina. Now, I told somebody something that, do you know why there are very few intersex people? There are not few, but there are few. You know why? In Africa, let me talk about Africa because I've been reading about what happens in some African cultures. Africa is big. When they found a child was born with a vagina and penis, they killed that child. It was like the child was a bad sign that something bad was going to happen in the community. So they killed them. So it is just like what happened in the story of Israel. And Pharaoh ordered that if you get a boy, if a boy is born, kill him. If it's a girl who is born, don't kill. So the midwives were given that order, and some of the midwives decided to lie and did not follow the order of the king. And someone will say that's what you call civil disobedience. Because you see, people will say, why did these midwives not follow the order of the king to get the blessing from God? Yeah, because people will tell you that, for you to get blessings, you have to obey the king. You see, and these ladies didn't obey the king because they knew what it was. They knew the intention. The Pharaoh wanted to reduce the number of Israelites. So in his view, it is to kill the boys. And guess what? You can even kill girls to reduce the number of people being born. So either way, but in his view, it is the man who is the one who populates the earth. You see, other people will say it's women who populate the earth. Like what happens in India, they kill girls. In India, they even go through the scanning to know whether the girl it's a girl. When they know it's a girl, abort. Yes, that's what happens. And this is why reproductive rights. I am a supporter of reproductive rights. If you want to abort, you can abort. And because in fact it's even better to abort than give birth and then kill, like what used to happen to the intersex children. They were being killed. So it is only midwives who could hide that this child is intersex, or if you were born in a hospital and this is an intersex child and is protected, and said, okay, fine, he's born, keep him, keep her, keep him or her, keep them. because even the pronouns, not intersex, they even don't want to be called him or her. So you give them they. We already have a video that's talking about the pronouns. So you can go and study them and teach them to intersex people. I like African languages, especially East African languages. Those are the ones I know, and a bit of Southern African because they have Bantu. They are Bantus. So in Africa, there is no he or she. There's just a, or the. I mean the. It's just one who. Like when you talk about a person called, let's say you call a lady. Even a lady can be called a mani, and when it's called Amani, you say Amani. Let's use Swahili. It's the easiest Bantu language. Amani alienda nyumbani, meaning Amani went home. Alienda is, if you retranslate that in English, it English will demand a gender for alienda. It will demand a gender. But in Swahili, there is no gender because Amani can be a boy or a girl. So Amani went home. That's it in if you do it in English. Now if you remove that, if you remove Amani, the name, and then you say Alenda Nyumbani, gender. It will demand a gender. It will say now she went home or he went home. In English, and so the best you could say is they went home. That's why most non-binary people and and all of these the intersex, they use they went home. So you say, oh, they went home. Okay, that's good. In the Bantu languages and Nilotic, though they have some, if you look at them, some tribes actually gendered women and men. They have duality, but other tribes, mostly Bantu tribes, I don't see a lot of gendering. They have, they are just the same because they were seen as a bad omen. And it was just like even a child who is born without a hand. There's some children who are born without some limbs. There's no eyes. So people just say, just throw this one. This one is a curse. Don't even throw. So they throw the child. That's what happened in most African societies. But thankfully, now with, you see why the LGBTQ movement is very important, that there are people who are sexually different and you have to accept them as they are and live with them and understand that they are different from us. You see, most religion is so dualistic. It is man, woman. In the beginning, God created Adam. He was a man. And then he made the second person he made was a woman. So there is no mention about they were different people. So what has happened in many people who are in these religions, especially religions that write that men and women are different, and they do that division, they have nothing in their thinking that somebody can be born with two sex organs or even with none. Do you know there are some people you can be born and you don't even have a penis, don't even have a vagina? What are you? You see? And if you don't understand those things, you can even collapse. So what happened is such people were called abnormal, meaning they are not normal. And then English now changed. But it's the problem I have with English is when you say someone is abnormal, it's like you're saying they are mad. And it's not that they are mad, it's just that they are different. They are not like what we have in the norm. Now, I used to say in the past we are all bisexual, but I've come to say a new thing. We are all intersex. Why do I say we are all intersex? We all have the hormones of we all have both male and female hormones in us. because we are born of both sexes. So every man has estrogen and every woman has testosterone. So the only difference is the level of testosterone. Some women have higher testosterone than men because testosterone is a majorly male hormone, but it's also found in women, but in small degrees. But there are some women who have a high testosterone, and other men have high estrogen, like women, even more than some women. So you'll find some men are, there are some men who are beautiful. Yes, there are men who are beautiful and not necessarily handsome, because even handsome is a gendered description. It is the beauty of a man. But there are some men who are beautiful because they look so feminine. You'd wonder where is the testosterone to give them the beards and all of these things? Not there. And for the women, like Semenya, see, Semenya is a woman who has high testosterone, higher than some other men, because there are some men who have no biceps. They have a penis, but they have no biceps. And Semenya has more biceps than those men. And if you ask Semenya, did you go to the gym and eat? She'll tell you, nope. That's me. I was born like that. I grew up like that, tall, masculine. But I don't have a penis. Or we don't know. We don't even know what she has. Sometimes you just keep quiet. But she's a woman, so meaning she has a vagina. Sorry for those who are not used to hearing those words. It's the medical terms of the private parts. You know, religious people want to hear the word flower and stones to mean men. No. Or banana. No, let's just use the medical terms. Now, that's the sexual diversity. So, I am of the view that we are all intersex, but there are some who are more intersex than others. Now, the highest intersex is the one who has two uh, sexual body parts of a man and a woman. That's the highest. Then the second highest is the one who's one partly, it's partly becoming, it looks like a male, and then but it's female. It happens if you study the female's body part, the vagina, the clitoris is actually the same material that makes the penis in a man. And for some ladies, it's very long, and meaning the length is like it was going to become a penis, but it didn't become one. See, there's a mix. It's like cooking. We are all types of foods, and the ingredients just mixed in a funny way and created some people to have very long clitorises that may look like a penis, but they are not. And then she has a vagina. And then you have some men, they have the penis, but it's very small. It's small. And it almost looks like a clitoris. But they don't have a vagina. So I don't want to go deep into this, but it's good to go to deep depth of these things to understand each other. And we're in an open world. The knowledge is there, so I'm enjoying talking about it because it's reality. And so that's my view, that we are all intersex. It's just that then now that's the second highest I've talked about, where they are partly, they have two body parts, or they just have one, and then the other part is the one that kind of looks like it's coming. Then you have men. Some men have one ball, others have two balls. Yeah, because the highest man should have. Now we go to the third highest intersex. The third highest intersex, in my view, this is my definitions, so don't Don't rely on me, but my view of humanity. The third intersex, these ones don't have the body parts, two body parts, but balanced, whereby you may be a man because you have a penis, but your estrogen is a bit high. And this affects mostly castrated males, eunuchs. And some eunuchs are born, they are born like that, they are castrated, meaning they didn't have testosterone. They had very low testosterone, minute, and they had, therefore, estrogen was more. So they tend to, but they have the male organ is there, the penis is there, and but they have estrogen. So these, they tend to be feminine. And then next, and the opposite is women. You have a vagina, but you have your very high testosterone. You have your beards. You have your when you go to the private, I mean to the washroom, you are, yeah. So those are, that's the third highest for me, whereby hormonally you are actually, you can actually be hormonally, you can be both male and women, female, but physically or physiologically, I mean physically, because hormones are also physiology. Physically, you're actually one sex, but hormonally, you're two. And then, this is what happens to many. That's how transgenders are. If you really want to understand a transgender, they don't necessarily have the, they are not full intersex. It's just that internally they are. And they go through a lot of struggling. They don't know whether, am I a man, am I a man, am I a woman? Because when they look at their body parts, unlike an intersex, when he looks at his body, when they look at their body, they have two body parts. But a transgender that has one, but internally may actually have two, and it's also partial. So that's what they go through in their life. And yeah, and that's how, those are the three levels I could say of intersex that affects the it affects intersex people, queer people, and transgenders, and also maybe even homosexuals and bisexuals, because we are still yet to understand what is homosexual attraction and what is heterosexual attraction. Of course, we've understood heterosexual, but we've not understood, people have really not come to terms to understand homosexuality. Like, why does a man, is he sexually attracted to another man? It's very weird. Yes, it is. Because you look and think, even to yourself, okay, why is he attracted to another man? What is there? The reason why you're wondering, if you wonder, it's that you are not homosexual. But even homosexuals can wonder why they are homosexual. Yes, it's because you are sexually attracted to a man, and vice versa for the woman. I mean, I remember I asked this lesbian, you know, how do you get intimate with your fellow lady? I was wondering to myself how lesbians practice intimacy. And there's a very good article you should go and read. The lesbian sex, it's talking about lesbian sex. I would encourage you to go and read it. Very good. All of these things, homosexual attraction, it is so natural. So natural. And oh, I'm seeing Sting. I was attracted by the title of this video. Definitely an interesting topic. Thank you, Sting. Thank you so much. Yes, this is a very good topic. I I've done it because it is what I'm seeing around. Of course, I am gay, and but I also face moments of sometimes sexual identity crisis. I don't know myself. And sometimes I've had my experiences. I've had my experiences before of life. Sometimes you feel that there's these divisions where some people will say there's a macho gay and the femme gays and all of these things that we are seeing in the world. This is what I'm trying to bring about and talk about right now. So thank you so much, and please give me your feedback. I'll wait for it with all my heart and also respond. So now we have dealt with the sexual diversity, and now we want to go to the sexual singularity because we are looking at where the LGBTQ movement is at this time and where it's going. And now the problem that's happening, or a challenge rather, that's happening in the LGBTQ movement is people are these, as I've said, in the early 2000s, when we came out on the social media platforms, it was so easy to say, yes, I'm gay. Okay. And then the next part was, are you top? Are you bottom? Are you starred? Are you femme? There was a lot of contention as to, even as I've said in my other videos, I told somebody was asking me, is a top a man and a bottom a woman? And to some people, yes. And others say, no, the bottom is a man because he's doing very powerful work to receive dick. And then the top is not doesn't necessarily have to be a man. Or because it's homosexual sex, a top and a bottom are men. So don't even think of making a bottom a woman or making a top a woman, and vice versa to the lesbians. Don't think of making the stud a man. She's just a woman who gives, and the femme is the woman who receives, and the top is just a man who gives, and the bottom is just a man who receives. So there's this thing of don't try and feminize sex or don't try and masculinize sex, because in the heterosexual world, the heterosexual man is the one who gives it. In heterosexual sex, it is the man who gives. But guess what, even in heterosexual sex, a woman can give a man a BJ. So she's giving head. And so what does that mean? Does that mean the man is feminine when the lady gives him a blowjob? Or when the man, of course, the man is in heterosexual sex, the man is always giving, even if he sucks the vagina and or whatever, he's still giving. But a woman, when she gives the man a BJ, she is she now masculine? So there's a lot of talk about this. There's a very good book written by, put together by Dr. Sylvia Tamale, now professor from Uganda. The best book on sexuality. The best. I've not read as much as I wanted to read on sexualities because there are not so many books. But she compiled a book and a half, and I would encourage every person in the LGBTQ movement, you must have that reader in your house, in your library. And if you read it, she has covered a lot about the LGBTQ sexuality. So now we are on sexual singularity, and I coined the word. Of course, singularity is from Kurzweil, who has created the technological singularity of 2029, whereby the world will be all wired, will all be one. His prediction is 2029. Now, I kind of borrowed from him because I was borrowing from the principle of singularity. You see, what is singularity? Singularity is union, is unity. And sexual singularity to me is there'll come a time when the world, there will be no need to even know what role you are or what is your sexual identity, because all of the identities will be swallowed up. And I am seeing this happening in the LGBTQ movement, because stereotypes are beginning to die. There's just a very nice video I've watched from Slate that was talking about how people relate to each other. They think a man, they think gay men have certain ways. Like there's a femme gay, he's limp wristed, and there are certain things he says, and then you just conclude he's gay. And then guess what? You find he's actually metrosexual. He's not gay. The way he dresses, and then next thing you find another gay man, he has beards, he is so slobby, he just does his thing slowly, and you're like, what? This can't be even a gay man, he's just a low life. Next thing you know, he's gay, very gay. You see, because people have stereotypes, and they think that if this if this is a stereotype, then a gay person looks like this. You see? If trousers, I mean, if you're a woman and you wear trousers, you're a lesbian. And if you are a woman and then you wear skirts and dresses, then you are not a lesbian. You can't be. And this is what happens to mostly femme. The femme is the female, the feminized, the receiver in the lesbian sex. Especially, there are some femmes who don't wear dresses. And there are some studs who actually wear dresses. So basically, there's no stereotypes. Sexual singularity means we are coming to the end. We are coming to the end of labeling. That's what's happening. That's what happens in sexual singularity. Sex. He is bisexual. So the heterosexuals have been sucked up by bisexuality. So the only heterosexuals who are purely heterosexuals are those who have only had heterosexual sex and have never had homosexual sex. And the number is dwindling as time goes by. Of course, some countries, very many heterosexuals still exist. And data, as I've told you, especially Africa and the global south, it's just a dark data. Africa used to be called the dark continent, and now in the 21st century, it's the home of dark data. You will not know very many things. But even in the presence of dark data, the fact is there will come a time when we will all be sexually united. And what I mean by sexual unity is that, or sexual singularity, sexual and you want to have sex with an asexual, you will have it. And you're an gay and you want to have sex with an ally because you sleep with a straight man, yes, because the ally is a straight person, but you can even have sex with them. This is what you call the mixed orientation relationships that is already happening. And that's what I'm calling now the sexual singularity. And I am seeing that's where we're headed, because the labels are dying. They are I think that's what's happening in the West. Of course, most of places whereby homosexuality is still not recognized, they still have a way to go. But those in homophobic countries who are already in the LGBTQ movement understand what I'm saying. They have left the label life. There are some LGBTQ people who have left the the they have left the um, they have left the label life, but others haven't, you see. So we've got to learn how to live with people who haven't left the label life, and live with those who have left the label life. Like we used to wear Tommy Hilfiger. Everybody wanted to show everybody I was wearing Tommy Hilfiger. See, it's a label. And when you're wearing a label, you it means you're wearing something good. You know, all cars are labeled. There will be no day. The reason why we label cars, we mark them with logos, is to sell them. It's our brand. And that's why I am not against people who still use labels, because you're selling yourself. Like when you say, I'm gay, what you're saying is, I am a man who has sex with men, or I'm sexually attracted to men. Full stop. When you say you are transgender, you are saying that I am a person who is not living in the my sexual assignment, the gender assignment I received at birth. Simple. But a transgender can sleep with a woman. A trans woman can sleep with a woman, and a trans man can sleep with a man. So what do you call that? You see, these are the things that sexuality science is still probing and working on. And then now, lastly, is the identity crisis that many people sexual identities go through. Now, as I've told you, transgenders, they they exist, but whom do they have sex with? Because a transgender is not necessarily a transsexual, even though they are similar. Because transgenders are fighting, or are actually fighting, having an infight. They were born with a body part that they don't feel is part of them. And that's what I was saying. We are all intersex because we carry all the hormones. We carry both male and female hormones. It's just the degree that varies. And that varying, the variation in the degree is the one that makes some people confused, like transgenders. They really go through that in a very hard way. And as I've told you, a transgender can sleep with a woman. A transgendered woman can sleep with a woman, or can sleep with a man. What do you call it? There are trans women who like gay sex, and they like it being done by a man. So what I and you see, so the labels are all mixed up, and everything is mixed up, and so that's what the sexual identity crisis people face. You know, already some people face in fact, when you've married a queer person, it's even weird. So the best thing I can say, when you have sexual identity crisis, like sometimes someone feels he's straight and then someone feels he's gay, or such a person is either bisexual or trans. That's what I can tell them. They're either bisexual or trans. And um, and or queer, because queer is the best is the best orientation for stating who you are. And then you have the non-binary. They are not neither male nor female. And then you also have the questioning. Yes, you can question that. Am I really gay? Am I really straight? Am I really bi? Am I really trans? You can question for the rest of your life. For the rest of life. And you can be asexual for the rest of your life. And I always tell people, most celibates are asexual, in my view. People who are avoiding relations, or because of low libido, and maybe they don't want to get diseases, so they decide to be asexual. And who is a wanker? I mean, a guy who wanks. There are some people who will forever wank. What do you call them? Maybe they are queer. I don't know. Because wanking is sex. Yes, because what happens in sex happens in wanking. ejaculation. And female masturbation is not male masturbation. Please understand that. And so that is the best we could say for that. Now, we'll talk about this more in part two of this topic.